Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary, Ashton, and this is our Lucha Underground review. And you know what, guys, we're going to do things a little bit differently tonight because I'm so jazzed up after the penultimate episode before Ultima Lucha Trace beginning next week.
AKA Penultima Lucha Trace.
Exactly. But I'm so hyped up from that. You guys already know the episode was terrific. I say it every week because, Lucha's my lifeblood. It's my favorite wrestling promotion right now. I've said that repeatedly. So I want to get right into the discussions immediately. So I'm going to pose a question to Ashton right now to start. Is Ultima Lucha Trace one of, if not the most stacked wrestling card of all time? Because Jesus Christ,
I gotta say, if you put all four of these shows together as one giant masterful super card, yes, without a doubt. But we've got to remember that all of these crazy matches are going to be spread out over a 4-week period, and honestly, I don't think they're done with all these matches. I think we're going to get more than just the matches that have been announced, too. I think we're going to get another match, 2, maybe even 3 matches announced over the next 2 or 3 weeks that we'll see in the following weeks that we don't know about yet.
I think that's only possible because I think the final week traditionally has always been a 2-hour special. That said, though, right now I'm going to be on the more conservative side and say that our card is set. But even if the conservative estimate is correct, and even if you factor in that this is segmented, which you and I have said repeatedly on this podcast is a superior form of presentation, rather than WrestleMania is 7 hours long this year, because it doesn't fatigue the fuck out of people. I think even if you factor all that in, this is still a strong contender for one of the most stacked cards I have ever freaking seen.
It's really incredible. The amount, and it's not just quantity either. It's really quality, too. The matches that have been announced, it's not just that there are a lot of good matches. It's that some of these matches have Match of the Year potential, and not only Match of the Year potential in a vacuum, but also are blow-offs to huge stories that have been going on for months, if not literally years, because of the format Lucha Underground has taken.
Exactly. Ultima Lucha Trace, and here's the thing, and I have said it repeatedly on certain
episodes. The crazy thing is, the main event of Ultima Lucha Trace, Mundo and Puma, that's a story that's been brewing since episode 1, and it's going to happen on episode 105.
Yeah. It's a brilliant...
if you think about it, even if you ran Lucha Underground every single week of the year, that's still a 2-year build.
Yeah. That's absolutely nuts. It's a testament to the brilliant narrative structure that Lucha Underground has instituted since season 1, episode 1.
Yeah, and if you take account the breaks that they take, it's more like a 3-year build because, again, season 1 began, I think, October 29th, 2014. So it's been almost 3 years since Mundo and Puma first met.
Right. It's to me the most storied rivalry that Lucha Underground has, and it's getting an ending like this with career versus title. And that's the thing. The stakes completely support the narrative foundation that this feud was given. And I could say that too about Marty versus Phoenix, Hair versus Mask. We've got Ivelisse versus Katrina. Granted, actually, no, I won't even say that because I think the build for that match has also been quite clever because Ivelisse has been out with an injury, but they've used the plot device to go between, in Jeremiah Crane, who was the boyfriend of Ivelisse, but we know really has feelings for Katrina, as kind of building this is Katrina kind of exerting her superiority over Ivelisse because even the men seem to prefer Katrina, and Katrina could just kind of flaunt that in front of Ivelisse. So even the build for that.
Well, yeah, and plus, that's another one. That's a match that's been building since the end of season 1.
Exactly, and because of such a long build, I think it's a little unfair if people were to come up and say, Ivelisse has been injured, so the build has been hampered. I disagree. I think every time we see Jeremiah interacting with Ivelisse in a way, interacting with Katrina in a way that we know he shouldn't be, because he's supposed to be with Ivelisse, I think it does kind of contribute to that build in its own way because Ivelisse hates Katrina. And this is just another reason to hate her as well as to hate Jeremiah. But
Yep.
yeah, that's working out. Taya and Sexy. Here's the thing too about that. I mean, being a bit tongue in cheek, like I think the build like in Lucha Underground canon's been nice, but I think all the stuff going on outside
Yeah.
the Luchaverse also helps this match. Like,
It's really crazy because there are genuinely times that I think like I wonder if the Lucha Underground writers have a modicum of control over the AAA booking as well, and maybe they like plug little things into AAA and the way that they book things that play into the current Lucha Underground storylines, like in real time, not when they were taped. Because like remember last year's Lucha Libre World Cup when there was this whole thing with like Chavo and Pentagon, and then we ended up getting an interaction between those guys on Lucha Underground like the following week.
yeah,
I feel like this whole Sexy Star Taya thing couldn't have come at a better time, and it's one of those things where I'm a skeptic at heart, so I'm naturally thinking like too good to be true. You know what I mean?
right.
So I wonder if like that was intentional. If like the Lucha Underground writing team was like, "Hey guys, let's ramp up some Taya Sexy Star heat so that when the match happens in our brand, it seems like a bigger deal because it's like they have all this crazy heat already going on outside of the promotion, and now we can kind of add that into the heat that we've built in our promotion, so that this match is way bigger than it would have been otherwise."
I mean, I just love the way, if I could just say for a moment, like, I love the way that Lucha Underground, like, approaches the concept of build. Because build doesn't necessarily necessitate, like, proximity. Like, to give an example of what I'm trying to articulate, take a look at the ladder match that we got announced tonight. Pentagon, Dark, and Son of Havoc. I think the build to that has been tremendous if you look at it as more of a long-form narrative. Son of Havoc was screwed out of the Ultima Lucha Trace main event. He looks at Gift of the Gods as his chance back to that place. Pentagon at Ultima Lucha Dos was screwed out of the world title. You know, he made one wrong move with the barbed wire bat, but tons of one. He dominated 95% of that match, and he still has never held Aztec Gold, not even a trios title, which Son of Havoc can say, because at least he's been a champion. So you've got one guy that's just been so hungry for Aztec Gold, and Son of Havoc hungry for the Aztec Gold. They've had roadblocks put in front of them the prior season. They've been clawing really since season one, both of them in their own ways, and then they meet here. So I think even if you look at it more in terms of a long-form narrative rather than, oh, how many times have these two interacted with each other, the build to the ladder match has been great if you're invested in both of their stories. Like, it's to bring it full circle to what you said initially. It's not just a card with quantitative strength, it's a card with qualitative strength. And I think it's more or less reflected in every match, because we haven't even touched on the second most anticipated match for me. Well, actually, I should say it's either second or third, because I'm really looking forward to Mask versus Hair with the Hell of
Dude,
War
I
match.
love how into that whole feud you are. That's awesome.
Dude, I'm like a kid with that whole feud, because it just reminds me again of when I was a passionate WWE fan with whole Edge and Kurt Angle in 2002 with the Hair versus Hair, except this is far darker. This is far more personal, and it definitely got, you know, more fine built tonight, which we'll get to later. But then you think about the Hell of War match between Dante and Killshot. I mean, dude, you've got such rich and complex characters that were made that way because of the institution of war and, you know, just that whole thing. I think they've, and I've said this too whenever it's been appropriate, I think they've treated the storyline and the idea of having PTSD with such sensitivity and such care, but they've also used it to build drama in a way that doesn't feel crowbar. Dante Fox feels like Killshot left him to die, and they both have their scars from their times as soldiers, and now they're going to have to revisit that terrain against each other in this Hell of War match. It is a match that I think it's been one of the most beautiful narratives that Lucha Underground has put together this season. And I could even say that objectively, because subjectively, you know, my big narrative is the Mundo title reign. But objectively, I think this is one of the best narratives that Lucha Underground has done this season. I've loved it. I mean, Dante Fox, my fandom for him is one great thing to come out of it. I mean, let me ask you, man, because I'm really curious to get into your mind. You look at the build of this card. We both agree that it's fucking stacked. What top three matches are you salivating for the most? Like, man, I love Lucha Underground. I've loved this build. Like, what 3 matches at least are doing it for you? Because we agree this card stacks. I don't think 3 is an outlandish number.
In no particular order, I'm with you on the top 2 being, well, 2 of the top 3. I'm with you on Mundo Puma and Dante Killshot, but my third one would be Matanza Azteca.
That's right, because they're facing off in a steel cage, and we still don't even know what happened to Ray.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, this
And that actually brings me to another point. The thing I'm looking most forward to over the course of these 4 Ultima Lucha weeks is the cinematics that we're going to get, because, excuse me, we might literally see the Lord.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, and you know what, dude? It's so funny that you said that, given what we know about each other and stuff. And I know the appropriate context, but still, like, we might see the Lord. That's great. I fucking love that shit.
The Lord has come.
And he's terrifying.
I was going to say, and so will I.
Yes. And I will say, gotta give it up to my cohort in commentary here. You called the shit out of that 3-way for the gauntlet. That ending cinematic tonight. I know this seems like more of a freeform Lucha Underground review, but like I said, like I wanted to do it different tonight because I am so fucking hyped.
Well, no, but you know what though? The thing is, we haven't had a Heat of the Night segment for Lucha Underground since season 1.
Right. So like,
it's not like we're skipping over that,
right?
And like making things out of order. We're just talking about. I'm. I can't talk right now. I feel like we're basically previewing our preview and predictions, which will be next Tuesday.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to reveal my hand, but goddamn, dude, I'm like a kid that's been locked in a candy store and realizes, wow, I have like 12 hours in here. Where to start?
Or more better than 12 hours, 4 weeks.
I have 12 hours and a thing to measure my blood sugar all throughout. Let's do this.
I mean, I feel like that would dampen the experience because then you'd be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't eat this Laffy Taffy. It might literally kill me.
And then Darth Wilford Brimley says, do it. Do it.
Do it for the diabetes.
Exactly. But dude, like I was saying, I mean, yeah, it does feel like more of a spirited freeform discussion, but fuck it, man. It's Ultima Lucha Trace, and I am hyped as hell because seeing Dario's face at the end of that cinematic where he's like, oh, and you can come and see it for yourself, my lord. And I thought we were gonna pan like we did the last time we saw him to him lighting the cigar again, but no, we just focus on Dario's face and he's just thinking to himself, I hope that my foolish pride hasn't gotten in the way of me being able to live. Because, like, yeah, he's just like, oh, I have this great idea. And you know that Dario, again, is the big winner because it helps his show. But I think that look on his face says, if it goes back to Cage and all I've done is hamper the process and this and that, who's going to fall back on? Me. And, yeah, dude, like, it is freaking crazy. So, I mean, again, not necessarily picking a winner, but what do you think about, like, the Lord showing up and winner showing up? Like, keeping it outside of the match, like, focusing more on them.
Dude, I freaking love this whole thing. And I gotta admit, as much as I kind of wish that we would get more of it, I'm also kind of grateful that they spread it out so much, because then when we get it, I freak the hell out like I did tonight.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, just this whole thing with the Lord and Winter. Like, Winter has become one of my favorite characters, and we've only seen him like twice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude.
Because I just love that he is like. First of all, it sucks that we had to lose Lorenzo Lamas from the show. I guess that I think he was like retiring from acting or something like that, so they had to kill him off. But then, like, the fact that he was replaced by this Agent Winter character is just so perfect. I love it, man. And I'm so excited to see who the freaking Lord is, too, because I'm just waiting for it to be literally Danny Trejo. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. Like, and to touch on the Winter character, and maybe I'm reaching here, because you guys all know how much I adore Lucha Underground, but I love how they play with, like, certain idea, like for example, again, what I'm trying to articulate is because Winter to me has this menacing quality, but we always associate menacing like, oh, these razor sharp teeth or these bloodshot. Like, we have a certain image of what menacing is, but Winter in his suit, knowing that he's part of the police, or so he's like on the inside and he's serving these insidious purposes, and he just speaks so calmly. well, what if your plan failed? Like, and he's not even yelling. He's not raising his voice a few octaves or anything. It's not like a crazy Mankind promo or whatever. He's speaking very calmly. And what do you intend to do if it fails? And I want to piss my pants for Dario. I know he can't because he's got to maintain that air of confidence, so I'll do it for him because holy shit, dude. If anybody looked at me the way that Winter looked at Cueto tonight, just with that look of, what the hell are you doing, man? Like, we had a plan with this gauntlet. What the hell are you thinking?
Yeah,
I would just want to get the hell out. Like, I'd be like, hey, that's all.
Well, but the thing is, though, like with Cueto, he's in too deep for him to have that thought. Even.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that because you know what? Let's run with that a little bit. Cueto being in too deep. I'm not saying he's going to die this season, but am I the only one thinking that after all the shit he's put people through, from killing Cisco to killing, I can't even remember the other guy's name who ate his Bale, he ate his face, manipulating Sexy Star's emotion, like all of the shit Cueto's done. Like, I would not be. No, I'm not saying they're going to do it. Not saying they're going to do it. But it wouldn't surprise me if Winter and the Lord were the type of people that said, well, you know, Cueto, even though the gauntlet did work out okay, you still put us at risk, and we need to remind you never to do that again. And they pin him down somewhere, and they cut his hand off or some shit. Like, I'm telling you, man, I think Cueto's going to have a debt that he's going to have to pay. I don't think it's going to be with his life. I don't think he's in that deep yet. But wouldn't be surprised if there was a little comeuppance there for Dario Cueto this season. What do you think? Do you think he's going to get on their bad side one too many times and have to pay a certain price?
I mean, it's always possible, but I don't think so, no. If I had to bet, I would say Cage is going to win. The Lord is going to come in and try to destroy him, and something really interesting is going to happen there.
I mean,
maybe Cage actually beats the Lord and becomes the new Lord. I don't know.
Maybe, I mean, dude, I will say, that is possible. Anything's possible.
Maybe we get like this epic cinematic segment where Cage puts the gauntlet back on, and because he's been away from it for so long, it's like this big burst of energy, and it possesses him in an instant. It's like, oh, finally I'm back home, and it just completely takes him over in that instant, and he just becomes something new.
Yeah, it's funny that you put it like that because it almost makes.
I feel like I want a Lucha Underground anime at this point. This show's so good.
It is so, like, because, dude, I was even getting ready to say, first of all, anything's possible in the Luchaverse, and it's funny to me that the one parallel we come back to from time to time is the MCU, and robotic hands are in vogue. I mean, between Agent Coulson on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and now Misty Knight, like, I don't know, Cueto sporting a hand like that, if he crosses the Lord one too many times, it'd be pretty fucking sweet. I'm just putting that out there. But I love your whole idea.
Well, that's another thing, too, regarding Cueto is, like, he's like this wily guy who never allows himself to be put in a position where he's vulnerable. So would it really surprise anyone if he was intentionally setting the Lord up to get killed so that he could usurp him?
Oh my God! Does he have? No, he does have the balls, and that's the terrible.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He totally does.
Oh man, but I mean that's the thing. Like, again, if we were to do a video simply titled like "Why We Love Lucha Underground," it'd be the longest video we ever made because we wouldn't sleep, we wouldn't do anything. It would just never fucking end. But like, we've had discussions before about Dario as an authority figure compared to other authority figures in wrestling promotions. And I don't know if this is a general rule in television or cinema, but it's a rule that like, I don't know, I personally believe in. I don't know if it has any bearing in objective reality, but I feel like the more scummy you are, the more evil you are, the more of a bad guy you are in general, the more the comeuppance you ultimately receive at the end. For every bad act, it's just a little bit more. Like, first of all, how deep is Dario going to go in his scumminess, in his greed, in his lust for power? But then how big is the blowback going to be? Because let's also remember that there's a war coming. And if Dario is seriously thinking at this point, which the only reason I'm discussing it is because I see merit in your idea, right? That, I got to make a power play. Then how the hell are you going to handle this impending war when you're at the forefront of it? Like, you're the puppet master now. It's so crazy, this world. This world is so expansive and so chaotic. Like, I don't even know how all those chips are going to fall. That is crazy to think about. we might actually get to see the Lord in the course of Ultimate Lucha Trace, and you never know what the final cinematic's going to be. Because, I mean, in Season 2, it was simply Dario getting arrested. But with how stacked this show has been, do not be surprised if the cinematic is as explosive as the matches. Because I'm thinking we're going to get one hell of a cliffhanger going into
you say the cinematic, implying like the one most important one that's like the one at the very, very end of the season. But to me, I think we're going to get multiple cinematics on every single episode of Ultimate Lucha Trace. And really, remember that the final episode is 2 hours long. So we're going to get even more content on that show than usual. And like, I don't think it's just going to be because it's going to be match to match to match to match to match. I think they're going to fit some really cool, really good, really interesting cinematic segments in between there.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it would be interesting. Like, I don't necessarily think you're wrong, but if memory serves, I didn't remember any cinematics for Ultimate Luchadors with the exception of the ending one. Like, it was far more conservative that year with cinematics. Now, could this year be different?
Well,
I would be surprised.
Remember, dude, the cinematics for Ultima Lucha in Season 1, it was mostly Azteca trying to get into the temple, getting into the temple, Black Lotus killing him, and then Black Lotus and Dario leaving the temple, and then like that final teaser of Matanza's eyes were a part of that final 5 minutes.
Right. And then, again, Ultima Luchadors seemed far more conservative that year, with the only cinematic being Dario's arrest, if memory serves. So
I mean, that was the final cinematic, but I'm pretty sure there were other things that happened in between the matches as well.
And see, I don't remember that. I don't remember that part, which is why I'm skeptical of Ultima Lucha Trace. But here's the thing, and then this is what I always love to come back to. You ask any Lucha Underground talent, and like we've seen interviews with like several personalities, and they say, yeah, the second half of Season 3, the best stuff we've ever done. Some people even say, personally, the best stuff I've done in my career comes in like Season 3. I loved what I did. And yeah, I could see them, Ultima Lucha Trace, throwing everything at us. I mean, with all these crazy matches to put on top of that, oh yeah, we're still giving you these amazing cinematics.
Oh yeah,
even more than the matches. Like,
the cinematics for Ultima Lucha Dos were Mr. Cisco.
Oh God, Red Bull gives you wings.
Yep.
Oh,
it was. Yeah, Ultima Lucha Dos Part 2 was Mr. Cisco, talking with Joey Ryan and Cortez Castro and worrying about being killed and stuff. And then like the closing cinematic on that show was Cueto killing him. And then for like Ultima Lucha Dos Part 3, that was the one where like the final cinematic was Cueto getting arrested.
So it seems like between Seasons 1 and 2, but see, that lends itself to an even more interesting discussion then.
They kind of pick one story and kind of just
exactly
expand on it throughout the course of the Ultima Lucha. Yeah.
So what's the story going to be? Is it going to be about Ray? Because Ray,
Ray is not currently booked on Ultima Lucha, so that's definitely a possibility.
It's either got to be Ray or even something more to do with the Lord and stuff. I mean,
or I was even thinking maybe Cortez, because like he's also not booked, but like Cueto, he's obviously on Cueto's radar. And that's another thing too. Let's not forget about the whole Captain Vasquez Katrina situation, which does then link back to the Lord because of the gauntlet and Katrina trying to get a hold of it and doing that through Mill. And that actually leads me to another thing I wanted to say. I love the sort of monster dynamic where Mill has the opportunity to win the gauntlet. And like the image of Mill putting that gauntlet on and just raining terror on everyone is cool. But we know that he loves Katrina too much to not just give her what she wants and give her the gauntlet.
Exactly. Which, I mean, I don't know if that revelation is going to be made this season, because there are certain predictions I make throughout the course of a season that I abandon when I know we're getting to the end and I see more what Lucha Underground's priorities are. Because Mill still doesn't even know that he's not Katrina's true love. Like, Katrina's his true love, but it's unrequited love because Katrina doesn't feel the same way. Right. I doubt that revelation would be made here. But, I mean, also, dude, when we think about the potentials for which narrative story are we going to see unfold at Ultima Lucha Trace, Trios champions aren't booked either. Are we going to talk more about Drago's slavery and just Cobra Moon being a queen? Something that I will say, if I was to be nitpicky and you know, spoiled, and if I was to exhibit my spoiled behavior, I really wish we got to spend more time cinematically with Cobra Moon this season. Because
yeah, well, that's the thing though, dude, is that we got so many cinematics with her and the dragon and the reptile tribe in the first half of season 3 that it's easy to forget about them, because again, that first half of season 3 started a year ago. Like, the first half of season 3 started in early September 2016 and came to a close, and we went on that long break starting in January this year, and we didn't come back from that break until May.
Yeah.
So, like, we're talking about cinematics that happened 9+ months ago, even though they're still technically part of season 3.
Yeah.
That long ago, you know?
Absolutely. But, I mean, you know, they're not booked. That could be the narrative that Ultima Lucha Trace chooses. I mean, and who's to say? I mean, with it being a 4-week event, they may do something different entirely and say, you know, we know the past 2 seasons, we've only followed one story. Maybe they will follow more than one, and this question will be rendered moot.
Yeah. I was thinking that too, because the thing was, like, with Lucha Underground, every time we think we kind of have them figured out, they find a way to change it up on us. So I really I've just gotten to the point that I think it's just a bad idea to try and pigeonhole them as anything specific. You know what I mean?
I would certainly agree with you. I mean, history's proven that out. You know, that said, though, my God, the hype levels for Ultima Lucha Trace. Like, any hype that I have for anything related to, like, WWE, New Japan, or, like, anything else we're watching, hell, even Bola, when it finally comes around to our neck of the woods, whenever that is, totally eclipsed by Ultima Lucha Trace right now. Like, this is my most anticipated show for the remainder of 2017, because I mean, especially if it's as good as I'm hoping it will be, like, I don't even know if anything will come close. This may be my non-WWE show of the year when we do our year-end awards, because it has all the makings of it, dude. All the makings of it. Like, I don't know. I'm really excited what they're gonna do, dude, because I don't want to commit hyperbole. That's never my intention. But I look at this card, and I have such faith in LU's execution with the creative team and just everybody. This show may go down in the same lore that for hardcore WWE fans, WrestleMania 17 and 19 have for them. Like, Ultima Lucha Trace may be that for us hardcore Lucha Underground fans. Like, I really feel like we're on the verge of seeing something very special here. And that's how I feel. Like, again, I don't want to commit hyperbole. I don't want to speak for anybody but myself. But I look at this, and I think, damn, this is why I love pro wrestling so much, because you get to be a part of something that you're just like, man, I was so glad I was here when this happened. And I really feel like all the right elements are there for Ultima Lucha Trace to be that show. And I can't wait. I don't even care how they divvy up these matches. Like, oh, you guys get week 1, you guys get week 2. I think it's pretty safe to say what matches would get week 4. I mean, obviously Puma Mundo just most immediately. But yeah, I mean, dude, all these matches are great in their own way. I can't fucking wait for this. I mean, even again, a match that I've got to keep reminding myself is happening. El Dragon Azteca Jr. versus Matanza in a steel cage. That's, you know what's so brilliant about the steel cage too? Is it's the exact opposite of the match that they had before that break. Because before the break, it was a match where they could go anywhere, and you saw the destruction that ensued. Now they're containing them. It's completely inverted. Like, God, I love this show. Because even little things like that, like even thinking about the match in terms of that, well, last time we let them roam free and that caused that. So now let's harness the violence. Let's contain them so that it's only done to each other and not to the temple. Like, oh my God, this show is so perfect. I love it so much. Like, it just works, man. It just works. Like, I don't even know if that was intentional or if that's just me looking into reasons to just love this show even more than I already do. But my God, what a damn fine touch that is. And like, you know, with Azteca's athleticism, I could totally see a spot, because right now one of my favorite steel cage spots is obviously Johnny Mundo hitting a picture-perfect end of the world on Cuerno. If anybody,
dude, yes, and that was in season 1 too. That was like episode 16 of season 1. That was that long ago.
If anybody can top it, if anybody can overthrow it, it is Azteca with
his Azteca, right? Yes.
Yeah, like
all of my yes.
And like at the same time, Matanza could make Braun Strowman look like a fucking kitty cat by comparison, because he could use Azteca's body to destroy that whole cage and then just keep going. Like, oh, just because the cage wall burst doesn't mean that, like, it's over. I'm going to take
it. Doesn't mean that I have to be finished with you.
Exactly. Like, don't sleep on that match, because I'm not. Like, I think that's going to be incredibly violent. I don't even know what Hell of War is going to be like. I mean, I think you had the best, like, approximation. It's probably going to be like Weapons of Mass Destruction, but maybe even done more so because both of these guys have a legitimate military background in the Luchaverse, whereas Marty was only playing Soldier in the WMD match. They might go all out like we saw with the 5-0 Street Fight, which I would love that with kind of like a military setting. That would be fucking dope.
Dude, you know what, though? I got to say, I don't know how much more all out they can go compared to that WMD match, because they really did go all out for that. Like, there were weapons hanging around everywhere. They had a freaking sniper set up on the top of that one building. Like, it was extravagant.
Yeah, dude.
And dude, the crazy thing is, I think that match might be a year old as of today, because that match was on episode like 2 or 3 of this season, which again started in September of last year. I want to say the first episode of Ultima Lucha's or of Lucha Underground season 3 was on September 7th, which would mean that that episode that had the WMD match was either on the 14th or the 21st, which would fall almost exactly a year ago today.
Yeah, dude. I just look at all of these matches. I mean, another narrative strength I just realized, because I talked about the story with Havoc and Pentagon Dark, is how they always come close. Pentagon Dark lost the Cueto Cup finals. So like Havoc, he knew what it felt like to come this close to the world title match at Ultima Lucha Trace and fail. Like, when you really think about it, it is logical that these two would meet each other. And I love that, because Lucha Underground, they never insult their audience to me with their narrative. But I think they do sometimes force you to think and look at things from a different vantage point, because you might think, well, is it just because of the double pin? But it goes so much deeper than that, and I love it, I love it, I love it. And then you got women like, again, Katrina and Evil Lee, we already touched on that match. I mean, Taya and Sexy already touched on that. That being last luchadora standing. I mean, how crazy is that shit going to get? Is that going to have, like, a weird-ass finish? Because right now, Taya, she won her match at Ultima Lucha Dos, so she's undefeated right now at Ultima Lucha. Keep that streak alive, Taya.
That's right, baby. Go 2-0 at Ultima Lucha. Put
I mean, bro,
two other women away.
You've been asking about Angelico. I mean, who's to say that?
I want to see Angelico or King Cuerno or both so bad.
Dude, who's to say that if at some point, like in the career versus title match, like Worldwide Underground wouldn't come in, but then Angelico evens those odds, and then bam, you've got your built-in feud for season 4. Because here's the thing.
Yeah.
I love Johnny Mundo, but we all know that reign's got to end eventually. Do I think it'll end at Ultima Lucha Trace? You'll have to tune in Tuesday to find out. But
tune in.
When it does, what I do love about Lucha Underground, even though I'll exhibit bias to the contrary, just remember this is my objective opinion, not me in Mundo mode. I don't think he's going to get that whole automatic rematch kind of bullshit that we see everywhere else. I do think he would just move on to Angelico and revisit the world title at a later date, and I'd be totally okay with that. I even told Angelico when he first got hurt, I said, look, I like to joke, I like to pick on baby faces, but I hate seeing people legitimately get hurt. I was so looking forward to that feud, and I still am. I think that feud is fucking money. So if he was to make an appearance for career versus title, which I am personally hoping for simply for the sake of that feud, whether or not the title's in the mix, hell the fuck yes. Like this, and see, that's another exciting thing too, because if you look at this show in a vacuum as purely servicing season 3, it's already fucking stellar. But what the hell is it going to set up for season 4? Like, that's another thing, too, when you start going there and you're like, oh, my God, this world building, though. It just doesn't stop. Oh, my God, this card, dude. I honestly, it's always agonizing to wait a week between episodes, but this is the first time that I've really felt it in a long time.
I mean, you say that, but then next week's episode is going to happen, and we're only going to get 2, maybe 3 matches, and then you're going to feel even worse having to wait for the next week.
Oh, yeah, if there's any period where I am going to feel worse subsequent weeks, it would be Ultima Lucha Trace with the quality of this fucking card. Because, like, at any other time in Lucha Underground season, you just get numb to the feeling, and you're like, okay, we've done this before, we can do it again. And plus, with how busy TWitWoW can get, you know that we have a schedule that can just keep our minds off of it, even if only temporarily. Nah, man. for Ultimate Lucha Trace, I'm gonna be like in my own personal crack den internally. Can I get another hit, sir? Please, just 3 more matches. Just 3 more matches.
That Lucha Underground.
I'll suck your dick. I'll make you see heaven.
I wasn't gonna go there, but I'm actually glad you did.
Well, no, that is what this card is looking like it'll be to me.
Dude, here's the thing, though. Here's what we know about the card. Next week, meaning literally part 1 of Ultima Lucha Trace, we've got Killshot versus Dante Fox and Famous B versus Tejano.
Oh, my God. Yes! And thank you for reminding me of that match, because, like, oh, my God! That match with the bill. Tejano has been annoyed by Famous B, which what feels like all season. I don't think it's been exactly all season, but it feels like
it's been. Well, no, it can't be all season because we've got to remember Famous B started the season managing Dr. Wagner Jr. And since then, since Dr. Wagner Jr. is not around on Lucha Underground anymore, he's been unmasked in AAA.
Oh wow!
Okay. You didn't know about Dr. Wagner's unmasking?
No, I did not. Mainly because I treat AAA like I treat cigarettes as a form of cancer, and I try and avoid them at all costs.
I mean, you're not wrong there, but yeah, not Fantastica Mania, that's CMLL. At Triple Mania, Dr. Wagner Jr. faced off against someone that I don't even remember. No. Who did he go against? Psycho Clown, that's right. It was Psycho Clown. And yeah, it was a mask versus mask match, and Wagner lost. So Dr. Wagner had to unmask, and he literally just looks like the most interesting man in the world from those Dos Equis commercials.
You know what? Good for you, Dr. Wagner. Own that
shit. Here's a picture. I sent you a picture in the Hangout chat so you can see what Dr. Wagner without a mask looks like.
Yeah, that is one classy and foxy motherfucker. You own that shit, Dr. Wagner.
Exactly. Yeah, he looks great. And it's another one of those situations like with Andrade where it's like, you're a good-looking dude. Why are you wearing a mask?
Exactly. You're not hideous like Phoenix is going to be exposed to being. Goddamn. But Ajit, I am so glad that you brought up Tejano versus Famous B, because that's another point I want to make in this more free-form episode of Lucha Underground 2.0. Like, this is what happens when you make us give a shit about your undercard. Like, when you give it attention. When you give a shit about your undercard, we give a shit about your undercard. Because that's another match that I can honestly say, given the narrative stakes, I'm looking forward to. Do I care for Tejano as a performer? No, and I've been quite vocal about that. But when you
and that's the thing, though. That's the beautiful thing that really goes so far in proving so many of my points. Do I give a shit about Tejano? No. I like Famous B, but am I super interested in his in-ring work? Not really. That all being said, it doesn't freaking matter because of how well this story has been built, and that is right there, the proof in the pudding. If you didn't feel like you had it before, that's all the proof that you should need to realize how dirty the WWE is doing their performers by not giving them decent stories to work off of.
Exactly. Because if you can get...
Because even if you want to take somebody like Sheamus or like someone else that I don't care about that's probably decent in the ring but not great, like... let's say Enzo Amore. Like, you can give these people stories that will make people care about them. You're just refusing to because you have no interest in actually making stars because you never want anyone to ever be bigger than the brand again like Cena is now.
And it just reeks of laziness. Like, even when you look at Mahal's current feud with Shinsuke, I mean, not only is it lazy,
and the irony too, to me, the ironic thing about that whole situation is that, to me, even though Lucha Underground produces amazing stories consistently, they give everyone such great stories that I don't feel like any one person is bigger than Lucha Underground, despite the fact that they're writing their asses off. Like, to me, Lucha Underground has achieved what the WWE has wanted to achieve for over a decade now, and they've effectively made it that I don't care. And granted, I do care to a degree, but it doesn't matter on paper who is on your roster because the writing compensates for that. The writing is what people go to this show for. sure, you have people saying like, oh, Prince Puma is this great athlete, Johnny Mundo's a superstar, El Dragon Azteca, whatever, and they're all very talented, and I would never take that away from them. But to me, what keeps drawing me into Lucha Underground and the reason I love it so much isn't the roster, it's the writing.
And I'm going to stop you right there because I completely agree with you, for one. And even though I haven't said it in a while, very early on in our Lucha Underground reviews, and maybe even at some point recently, I've always said that there's like this old school ECW vibe about Lucha Underground, and I've always said that's what's it, because even reading the autobiography, one of my favorite wrestling reads, they would say, yeah, you could have this guy leave. Go ahead, WCW, take this guy, because we'll have another guy, and we'll give him the writing of that guy, and it'll be like we never lost a freaking beat. Or one of the
yeah, well, that's the thing, though, is that, like, obviously I love Johnny Mundo and Prince Puma and Dante Fox and all these guys, but at the end of the day, as long as Lucha Underground is presented the way that it is, with the consistently high-level storylines, with the great production value, with all the great camera angles in the ring, as long as the people in the ring are reasonably good at what they do, and there are a shit ton of wrestlers in the world that are good at what they do, I'm good. I'm sticking with it. Like, we're losing Prince Puma to most likely NXT, and as much as that sucks, we'll live without him because Lucha Underground is the feature here, not Prince Puma.
Exactly. And me as the ultimate Johnny Mundo mark, I could say the same thing about Johnny Mundo. If he was to drop the title and say, hey guys, I want to do other stuff, whether that's going back to WWE, which he does.
Oh yeah, I want to go be the cruiserweight champion.
Yeah, yeah. Or I want to focus more on movies and writing because I've really enjoyed that with the success of Boone the Bounty Hunter. I want to explore that more. If he was to leave, it'd break my heart because I feel like Lucha Underground gave him the treatment that I have been waiting for him for damn near a decade. But like, it would live, and I would live as a fan because this show is so fucking good. It's the performers, yes, they're a part of it, but literally only a part of it because Lucha Underground proves, I think, what you've been a believer in some time, not that I want to put words in your mouth, and that I've come to be a believer in over the years from my somewhat markier days. It's not about the in-ring work entirely. It's all about the writing. Writing is everything, and you could say that about any television show.
And dude, the thing is, too, like, I'll never try and be like, oh, WWE's roster is trash or anything like that. But I think the WWE's roster is good. I don't think it's like the best in the world or anything. Like, if I had to choose a singular wrestling roster to create a new brand with, I would choose New Japan, Lucha Underground, probably Progress, probably PWG. Like, there are a lot of places I would go before I would go to the WWE's main roster. I mean, unless we're talking like ticket sales, in which case WWE is the easy choice because they have the most exposure, but that's a different story entirely. If we're going strictly from a talent standpoint, I like WWE's roster, but I don't love it. But that shouldn't matter. But at the end of the day, with the WWE's writing, it really genuinely does feel like they're going out of their way to sabotage their own talent.
I feel bad for the performers in that locker room. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. Finn Balor, right? Who he's really been growing on me lately. Cuts a decent promo on Monday about the creation of the demon, and he says, well, if the man created the demon, then who's really more dangerous, the demon or the man? And I'm like, you know what, Finn? That was actually a really solid promo. It's just a shame that you have an engine behind you that's just fucking sputtering and not roaring like Lucha Underground. Why do you think, guys, if you think back to past commentaries, we say, oh, how great would it be if Stu Bennett got his love for wrestling back and he entrusted Lucha with it?
Well, yeah, and that's why I want, like, for example, Emma. I want Emma in Lucha Underground, not only because I know that they would do her justice from a writing perspective, but also because, oh, hey, guys, suddenly Emma has been unlocked. She can work against anyone she wants and not just other women, most of whom in WWE are worse than her.
Yeah. Like, I look at this card and I look at how narratively it has come together over the course of an entire season that even had going against it taking that long mid-season break that they didn't even originally intend to have. I think that was more of an El Rey thing. And you would think that would hamper its momentum, because we've had this fracture now in the narrative and now we got to wait. But they pick up business and we are in a place now where I am stoked as hell for this. And I think this is why even talents that may not fit long term, like anybody that I enjoy or who's on my radar, I always think to myself, wonder how Lucha would use them. And cards like this are why. Because if this isn't, and yeah, the main event card speaks for itself, but focusing on the undercard, if they have not maximized their resources here, then I've completely forgotten what maximizing your resources even means. Because, I mean, god damn, man, they are giving us everything. And again, you reminding me of Tejano versus Famous B. Even that has stakes. I mean, Famous B is going to be wrestling with one arm, but if he somehow manages to win, which, hey, folks, hint, hint, this is actually building interest of how is this heel like Famous B always seems to have something up his sleeve. How is he going to win against a guy that looks like Tejano does with one arm? But if he manages to do it, he gets his contract. Like, I love it. Nobody went to waste this season. And I know, like, you could say, oh, Trios champions, this and that, but maybe something will happen with that. And honestly, if it doesn't, I mean, hell, Lucha Underground would probably spin it where, well, I mean, look at them. Look at Vibora. Look at Pindar. Look at a controlled Drago. Nobody's wanted to step up to face them. And then Dario could say for season 4, well, look, if anybody's too cowardly to challenge you guys, I'm going to make a tournament. I'm going to make a match happen. And then, bam, you know, you got that. Like, that's the thing, too. Even any deficiencies that you could point out that could potentially have merit, like the absence of the Trios champions or this thing or that thing, Lucha Underground's probably already aware of it and has already taken measures for next season, you know, thinking about future television to remedy that. Because now, and that's the thing, we talked about Cobra Moon being on the sidelines for season 2. She became a much more significant character narratively this season, and I could see them really being at the forefront of season 4 being the Trios champions. So, I mean, yeah, like, I'm confident in this brand. I'm confident in Ultima Lucha Trace. I kind of want to wrap it up here because I know we are coming back with NXT reviews tonight, and it is almost 10, but, like, I couldn't contain it. I am so excited for this show. I just wanted to go at it with you and talk about all this. Is there anything else that, like, you want to talk about relating to this card or your hype or anything? Because, I mean...
Well, I mean, funny enough, we really didn't talk much about the show that we just watched. We got too into the idea of hyping up Ultima Lucha Trace, which, I mean, yeah, it's going to be great, but we never even talked about the matches we got tonight, you know? It was like, yeah, I mean, man.
I will say, just to give a shorthand version, I love Tejano Dante. I thought it was a great opening match, set a great tone. Also, again,
mostly because of Dante.
Yeah, because Dante's fucking amazing. Oh, my God. But, you know, that was great. Tag team match was great, and I love, again, that because you don't restrict your women and you could do men and women mixing it up, you get the great moment building the mask versus hair match of Marty and Mariposa terrorizing Melissa, almost cutting her hair right in front of Phoenix before he makes the save in time. You had an interesting cinematic with Melissa and Phoenix. She wants to see his face, which I think feeds nicely into Marty, like, oh, I'm going to expose him, and then you're going to see how ugly he is. Phoenix says, oh, it's everything, you know, I can't. But then she says, like, you won't lose me, even if you lose your mask. They share a tender kiss, you know, kind of building on that. Give to the Gods was fine, you know, especially because, I mean, you know, with the finish, it really was more focused on Ultima Lucha Trace, and I love how we can use Gift of the Gods both as a vehicle for Ultima Lucha Trace without completely sacrificing it on the altar, because, no, it gets a ladder match now. Yeah, this episode was fucking great. I know that's a very brief, quick run-through of everything, but guys, like, even this show was like, nah, fam, the focus is on Ultima Lucha Trace. You got to be talking about that. And so, yeah, I feel like our priorities are straight, man. Like, this is all about that big show 4 weeks long, which is great, because then you get to pace yourself and really appreciate each episode for what it is, rather than watching a 7-hour show and thinking, oh, what was the good stuff? It was so long ago, I forgot. Like, I adore this show, man. What more can I possibly say? I feel like I've already been redundant, so I'm not even going to apologize for that. If you're not hyped for Ultima Lucha Trace, then clearly Walking Dead is among us, because you're a zombie or you're something else that I can't even identify. I am hyped as fuck for this. You want to talk about hype meter? It's a fucking 200 out of 10. So yeah, do you have anything you want to say about tonight's Lucha Underground, like your own little brief overview or anything else about the Ultima Lucha Trace card?
You know, I usually don't even like talking about matches that much, because to me the story and the finish of the matches is the most interesting thing. But I will say I love the way that they handled Marty and Mariposa versus Phoenix and Melissa, which, again, we didn't really talk about, because the idea that so often, like in WWE, when we see non-wrestlers get into the ring for story purposes, they end up winning even though they're not trained wrestlers, and it makes their opponent look bad. And this is the first time that I can remember in recent history that an untrained wrestler. Now, I know Melissa is a legitimately trained wrestler, but storyline wise, she's not. So, an untrained wrestler, storyline wise, got in the ring, and really it was like proven that she was not a trained wrestler. She lost in relatively dominant fashion on the behalf of Marty and Mariposa. And I just appreciate that Lucha Underground isn't trying to sort of butter us up and be like, oh, you can do it if you just try hard enough and if you have a good enough reason to win. No, like, if you're not a trained wrestler, don't get in the damn ring.
Yeah, I love that. I love too, like, how next level that is, because Melissa does have the training, to your point, but they're like,
dude, the funny thing is, like, she did some cool shit. Like, when she got in the ring, she did that seated senton, she did the running forearm to Mariposa. Like, it's not like she looked sloppy and incompetent in the ring by any means, but from a storyline perspective, she is a ring announcer, not a trained wrestler.
Yeah, they made it clear, like, you are in over your head, and
it's almost like Lucha Underground did the exact opposite of what WWE does, because WWE will take a legitimate untrained wrestler, like somebody that has no clue what they're doing in the ring, and have them actually win over trained wrestlers. Lucha Underground did the exact opposite. They took a reasonably trained wrestler in Melissa, who has had wrestling experience before, portrayed her as untrained, still had her lose because of the fact that they had portrayed her as untrained, but what she did in the ring wasn't dog shit.
Exactly.
I love that. That's perfect. Like, it's the wrestling business, people. You can pretend that somebody's not trained even if they are, and most people to the naked eye won't be able to know the difference.
Well, I mean, that's just it. Like you just saying, it's the wrestling business. Like, to me, when I think about what pro wrestling is, like, all the criticisms against it, I feel like Lucha Underground, like, embrace it. It's like, well, no, when you say pro wrestling, I say possibility. Like, playing with these narratives or playing with these presentations, and it works. Like, that is the one thing I will say, no matter how good or how bad WWE is, I think one consistent problem, which is built in because of their presentation, right? It's not something that writing, to me, can resolve unless you did like a radical reorientation of what your product is. It's their environment is naturally very constrictive. And I think it has like a lot of boundaries of what you can do. Hell, the most challenging they ever were with those boundaries was with a character like The Undertaker, right? Because it was supposed to be like this zombie character. But with Lucha Underground, with no like built-in notions or anything like that, they're just able to play with so many concepts and different ideas. Like, oh, we're going to take this trained wrestler and we're actually going to, do it like this. And, it feeds so well into the greater narrative of Phoenix and Marty. And to your point on live reactions, more like Marty and Melissa, because, she is the object of his obsession and everything else. Like, God, this show is so good. Yeah, man.
That's it, man. I'm going to stop ranting. I'm going to stop here. Yeah. We already kind of ended the show, so I'm just going to let you do the outro and take us home, because
absolutely, brother.
If we allow ourselves to, we'll go all night. I want to try and keep this thing close to an hour. I don't want to go an hour and a half.
I'm the same way, because
it's always like, oh, well, wow, we really overdid that one when we go longer than the show that we're reviewing. So go ahead and take us home, my friend.
I'm right there with you, because you guys know that you can still anticipate the return of NXT reviews tonight.
Well, not only that, but they can also anticipate our Lucha Underground Ultima Lucha 3 preview and predictions next Tuesday.
Yes, so good.
We'll be doing that at 3 p.m. Eastern time. I'll put that on the schedule, too, on my Twitter.
Absolutely. So, guys, with that said, this has been Lucha Underground. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary action. Guys, be sure to comment, subscribe, and like the video. The more likes you leave, the more likely we are to be the top search result for Lucha Underground reviews on YouTube. And when you're the best at what you do, the top is the only place that you belong. So if you haven't already, please leave that like. If you enjoyed this morsel of Lucha Underground content, great news. All Lucha Underground content ever, even broken down by certain categories, can be found in the description box. My cohort and commentary here is brilliant at making playlists. He even has one playlist, all Lucha Underground content ever playlist. So if you want to OD, if you're just like, give me all that content, no. It's all right there at your heart's content. Watch it all, relive some great TWitWoW moments, engaging this product. It's all right there in the description box. You can find all the media we're associated with, the Twitter, the Facebook, everything. Also in the description box, please check that out. The two things, of course, I like to plug. One, the Teespring. We got an Emma t-shirt that my coordinating commentary made. It's a beautiful t-shirt. The real face of the women's revolution. It's an Emma t-shirt because WWE is too inept to give her merchandise. So Ashton took it upon himself to remedy that situation. If you're not an Emma fan, well, that's okay because we got other alternatives for you. We got a Braun Strowman t-shirt. I'm not finished with you. So if you want to send a chill down the spine of everyday life saying, yeah, I'm going to go at it with gusto, I'm going to show everything, I'm not finished with it, that's the shirt for you. You can find that on Teespring, and we have a bunch of other great offerings, guys. Do check it out. Outside of that, the Patreon. You know, the one thing I love plugging on the Patreon is the Discord. The Discord is stacked right now, and I love it. I love seeing all the faces we've got to come over to the Discord. To me, it's the most intimate experience that we offer our fans currently. Second only to Twitter, but I think, again, this goes beyond Twitter because we could talk about anything on here. It's like an open chat platform. I know my coordinating commentators made tabs for wrestling talk, general talk, not suitable for work talk for people like James and others that want to get a little down and dirty. That's fine. We're meeting everybody's needs in the Discord. And the best part is, if you want to be a part of it, if you're thinking, wow, a not suitable for work tab, this place sounds like paradise. Good news. Entry is only $3 a month. Only $3 a month for this experience to get along with your fellow TWitWoW fans and both Ashton and myself. And the best part is, if you're really invested in the Discord and you stay with the Discord for 10 months, that's $30. You know what you could do with that $30? You could cash it in for a live reaction to a 3-hour show. So you get future purchasing power by being in the best place on the internet, the TWitWoW Discord. You know what I say about it, folks? It's a win, win, win. So, yeah, definitely wanted to plug that.
And now it's actually a win-win-win-win because the money donated by people, even people getting just the Discord treatment, all that money is accumulating. And if we get to $120 as a community, John and I are going to start live reacting to Progress.
Yes. And, folks, if you're even have one iota of familiarity with Progress, you know you want it. You know you want us to get there because it'll be infinitely better than SmackDown live reactions. I promise you that. Because you know TWitWoW plus great wrestling content equals the best time you'll ever have on YouTube. Guaranteed. With that said, guys, giving you the rundown here. Later tonight, NXT review. We're back at it. You know, we're getting back in gear with this. Looking to NXT TakeOver. I believe it's Houston, I think. I don't know what the next TakeOver's in, but I know already murmurs are being made about that show with the NXT Women's title and other stories going on. The Undisputed era as well. You know, Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly. So
that is correct, by the way. It is Houston.
Sweet, I got it right. Yes. So yeah, returning with NXT reviews.
It's in 2 months, November 18th.
So we're still quite a ways away, but yeah, I mean, we're taking a deep seat, folks. Content returns tonight. Tomorrow, do we have a Patreon request tomorrow? I feel like we did, don't we? Or is that next week?
No, it is. It is tomorrow. It's ECW Hardcore Heaven 99.
Okay, so ECW Hardcore Heaven 99 Patreon request. We'll be going live at 3 with that, I'm guessing. So
yep.
you can be there for that. And then I can take care of the rest because I know Friday is No Mercy preview and predictions, and Sunday will be No Mercy live reactions. Cannot wait to talk about No Mercy. I've got quite a bit I want to say about the show. I'm sure Ashton does as well. ECW Hardcore Heaven 99 tomorrow should be a lot of fun. Very curious about that card. And, of course, looking into the further regions of the future, September 28th, a week from tomorrow, will be Q&A. So, guys, if you haven't submitted questions yet, you know the deal. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Discord. Those are the best mediums you have to submit Q&A questions. Everybody gets up to four questions per Q&A, and you can divvy them up however you like. I've been getting quite a few questions on Twitter. I still got to compile them all into that master list. I'll be doing that soon, but you guys still have time. Submit your questions. Let your voice be heard. Q&A is always a fun time. You never know what questions you're going to get, and it's always a deep-seater with just every topic under the sun. So be a part of it. Get in there. All right, guys, with that said, we'll see you at our NXT review in a little bit. Until then, tune in and peace out.